Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, currently featuring Steven Universe, Miraculous Ladybug, The New Powerpuff Girls, and Archer. I'm Dylan Heisen, and today I'm joined by Justin Cummings.
Hey, everybody.
And Michelle Ender.
Hello.
Today, Justin, Michelle, and I will be taking your voicemails, questions, and comments on the latest episode of Steven Universe Same Old World. This is our feedback podcast for Same Old World. We're doing a post-episode recap discussion podcast and a feedback podcast every week here on the Overly Animated Podcast. You can check us out at overlyanimated.com or search for the Overly Animated Podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher. If you want to get feedback in for next week, you have to do so after the episode before the feedback podcast. More details on that at overlyanimated.com/feedback. So let's get into things here. Previously on the Overly Animated Podcast, Same Old World.
Previously
on part one.
Yeah, on part one. I was very high on this episode. Sam and Delaney slightly less so, but I think everyone was liking it to a certain extent, right? So before we get into your guys' feedback, we haven't heard from you guys, Justin, Michelle, on this. Let's start with you, Justin. What was your general reaction to the Same Old World?
My general reaction can be summed up in 2 words, and those 2 words are Status Lazarus.
Was that actually your reaction to this?
Probably, actually.
Okay, yes, it was. However, I thought it was a really, really good episode. I liked the pacing of it. At first, I was kind of about it, but as it went on, I really liked where it went. They stayed within what the established canon was, and I felt they built off Lapis's character very, very well. My one question is, where is Lion?
That's your big question after this
They never
episode.
found Lion.
Well,
I'm sure he's somewhere.
He's somewhere.
Also, good canon point. Steven has his hot dog duffel bag in this episode. He got that in his first ever unboxing video he made, which if you haven't seen that clip, it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like
I forgot about that.
It's like an online only clip, right?
Beautiful little canon nod right there.
Yeah.
Thought that was awesome.
Cool. So high on the episode?
Very, very high.
Okay. Michelle, what about you?
I agree with Justin. I really like this episode. It's probably my favorite of the 3 of season 3 so far. It was really nice to see Lapis have like an actual personality. Because like as Steven was saying, like we only really see her like in very impending doom type situations, and we haven't really seen her like what she's like as herself when she's not like incredibly stressed out or scared. And she's very likable. And she still knows how to like make a joke. And it was a nice, quiet, kind of like thoughtful episode, and I think those are always the ones that I tend to like the most. Ones that are very like character heavy. So I really liked it. I thought the pacing was pretty good. I agree. The beginning was kind of, when like, I thought like maybe we weren't gonna see Lapis the rest of the episode. It's kind of like, oh no, like what are we gonna do? The rest of this episode, but she came back. And I thought the way they handled that made a lot of sense. Not really a lot of complaints with this one at all. I really liked it.
Yeah. And then, like I said on that previous, one of my favorites of the series, although I'm not trying to say like one of the best, but we've had some great episodes here. I think it's interesting, like objective critically, whether this is better than Gem Drill. I think it's 2 very different types of episodes here. We'll dig a little bit more into Same Old World here though, including I think some things that we missed on the recap. Today I rewatched Ocean and whatever Gem, Mirror Gem and Ocean Gem, because I feel like I felt like I was missing some of the context necessary to delve deeper into this episode. So we'll talk about that, and we'll delve deeper into the geography of the Steven Universe world, because we referenced an ENJQ tweet on the podcast while we were going. We got more of them after it ended, so we have more to talk about here.
Yay.
Cool.
Geography.
Yay, geography.
Geography's so exciting.
Last thing to address before we get into the feedback is this weekend. It looks like, although we don't really, who knows if it'll be stopped. It looks like Cartoon Network France will be airing the next 3 episodes over the weekend. We do cover a French show here on OVA, so that would not be unprecedented, but, It's unfortunate. I mean, this was like expected. We kind of knew Europe was going to air these episodes around May, and it's like, okay, when are you going to air them? U.S. Cartoon Network. Like they'd been saying that for a while, and it just I think this happened. Like they took too long. So don't worry about spoilers here for this podcast. We're going to cover them in accordance with the U.S. releases. There's nothing else really to do. It just doesn't make sense to podcast on those 3 over the weekend. So we'll do them when they air in the United States. I guess those episodes will have the English audio available. So I don't know.
Oh, all right. Well, there goes my willpower to not look at them when they come out.
The one thing is like, will they be HD, right? That's the question. But, I think I'm going to I don't know if I'll encourage co-hosts to not watch or not, you know, we'll see. I'll think about it. Anyway.
I tried so hard not to watch the spoilers, then you made me.
Well, you know, sometimes we want to discuss the spoilers, most times we don't, but yeah, there will be spoiler free here. So let's get into you guys' voicemails and questions. I'm going to start off today with a voicemail from patron Shayna.
Hey, this is patron Shayna, and I just wanted to say that Peridot this episode was absolutely precious. Seeing her be more part of the team and be one of the crystal gems in her own way just warms my soul. But anyway, overall, really fun episode. It's great to see Lapis. Thanks.
So, okay. I mean, I don't know if we should start with Peridot, right, in the Lapis episode, but
we have
the episode does start with Peridot, so I think that's fair.
Once again, Peridot has some standout lines. I mean, I think that I pulled some sound quotes here. Let's listen to the best exchange from Peridot.
And Steven was all, my feelings.
Wait, I'm trying to get it again.
My feelings.
There you go. I just have that. That's like, I mean, we addressed this on the recap podcast. Once again, the show making fun of itself, and I think my feelings describe Steven very well. And I'm glad Peridot has the awareness now to make fun of him in that way. Do we think this is accurate?
Yeah.
For Steven, yes.
For Peridot. For Peridot.
Yeah.
Obviously for the show it's accurate, but would Peridot be capable of this? I think so, I guess.
I think so.
Point, right?
She's hanging out with Amethyst, of course.
I asked this last week. Is Peridot like too good of a character? I honestly think she's coming close to just stealing the episodes too much and like shifting the focus away from the non-Peridot points of the episode.
Well,
is that possible? Too good of a character?
It seems they're going to move her into the background once they solve whatever's going on here, because she's staying at the barn.
Yeah, well, that's interesting, right? Like, how's that going to work in terms of Peridot being part of the group or not? It
seems they're going to be. It seems at least her, when they solve this, who knows who will be there. It seems that the barn's going to be like the auxiliary gems. So, like, whenever something big happens, they bring them in. But for daily episodes, not really.
What do you think, Michelle? Peridot, a daily character?
Well, I don't think I don't know, for me, like, I can like, separate my enjoyment of Peridot and, my enjoyment of the rest of the gems. I never feel like she's, like, stealing, the show, except, like, when it feels very appropriate. And I don't think she's not gonna be, like, the hyper-focus she was during her own arc, I think, in the episodes going on in the future, because like now we have Lapis and hopefully potentially later we'll have Jasper too. And the dynamic's always changing, so I feel like how she acts in certain episodes and how much presence she has is gonna change too. Hopefully in a very like organic way. But I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's somewhat of a thing in that I think the writers need to be careful not to give her the best lines every time. And it's very tempting because it's just natural for her, but I think you need to spread the love here. Let's go over Peridot's other great quotes from the episode. I have like 10 quotes pulled, and like half of them are Peridot, despite the fact that she's on screen for a minute. Yeah. So, you know, let's go here. That's one of them.
I really like that one, actually.
Here's the sister one.
Wapamo, kapowie!
Her face was
it's like part
priceless.
1 and part 2.
Part 1, part 2. I think those were in reverse order, but Peridot talking about bathrooms.
I have seen what goes on in there.
Yeah. And, wait, that might have been it. No, here's the last one. Wait,
Here, everybody!
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a good general soundboard one.
Can we use the I see what goes on in there to describe Cartoon Network's airing process?
Yeah, well, we
But
kind
the
of
problem
don't
is
see
we
what
don't
goes,
see
yeah,
what
we
goes
don't
on in
see
there
what
because
goes
we
on
never
there.
know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, there. Might definitely be the problem. Okay, let's move away from Peridot. Well, let's take Rachel's voicemail. I don't remember what we're talking about with Rachel's voicemail. And we'll see, and we'll move from there.
Hi, this is Rachel, aka patron Rachel, Rachel Rose, and my thoughts on Same Old World. That it was a really good episode. I thought it was interesting that Lapis's mirror eyes returned, and she specifically phrased it as what I did to Jasper in reference to the fusion. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Thank you, Rachel, for the voicemail. Our patrons are definitely on the game with these voicemails, but we have not gotten non-patron voicemails, so I think our non-patron listeners need to step up their games here. But yeah, so a lot of love for Same Old World. Two interesting points here, somewhat specific. One is the mirror eyes. And
Can I talk about it?
I have a whole segment about that, so we're going to table it
Well,
for a
I'll
second.
talk about it.
Yay.
I mean, I have a segment does not mean I'm gonna like monologue for 5 minutes. It means I have a outline for that part. So let's talk about the so when Lapis is saying she can't go back to Homeworld, she says like there's no I can go back to Homeworld after what I did to Jasper, which I think is pretty interesting phrasing, considering that it's always been kind of a question how much of Malachite was Lapis trapping Jasper, how much of it was like a mutual destruction type thing. Mm-hmm. She's definitely phrasing it as an action that she took. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think? Reactions to that?
I like the agency they're giving her because we've been playing her up as the victim so much, but here it kind of portrays her as this almost noble sacrifice as opposed to a victim.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, and I think, I mean, from Lapis's perspective, like, what she did is gonna seem pretty, insubordinate and kind of unforgivable from a Homeworld view, but I don't think it detracts at all from the fact that, like, they were both kind of trying to control each other, so it wasn't like all Lapis and it wasn't all Jasper. It was kind of both of them. But I agree, it's nice to have Lapis kind of like taking the agency of that for herself and, rather than just like having her be like a pure victim.
Mm-hmm. I think we're never really going to get a great conclusion to the satisfaction that we'd want from to what extent was Malachite, Lapis, or Jasper.
Unless they talk, I can't.
Yeah, they might talk. Yeah, that would be the only thing. But for now, we're definitely tabling it. At the very least, Lapis took the initial action, so I think that's just a very practical perspective and with regards to Homeworld. Definitely interesting, though. I think that we kind of have a bigger desire to address that entire dynamic more than the show does right now. So I don't really, it's not super appealing to me to talk about it with so little information, but I would like the show to address it more at some point. With regards to the mirror eyes, so like I said, I went back and I rewatched Lapis's first two episodes. But so first thing, those are two very good episodes, and I did not remember them being like quite that good, especially the first one. The first one's really, really good. Those might be like top 5 in season 1, both of them. So I have come up with so I saw these on Tumblr, some of these which were like purposeful callbacks to these first two episodes that were contained in these episodes, and I kind of missed these on our first podcast, so I apologize. But here are the 4 that I found today. The first one is the over New Jersey, Lapis and Steven blowing the raspberry into their hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, something clearly from the first part of the Mirror Gem 2 episodes, that Steven does into the mirror, and that's kind of the first thing that Lapis does back from the mirror, and she plays the sound back over and over. Mm-hmm. So a meaningful gesture from the two of them. I don't know if it'd been referenced before that.
I don't think before.
In general, I don't think it'd been so clear that Lapis inside the mirror, just had such a clear memory of that. I think in the 2 parts, they kind of address that Lapis, recognizes Steven from that part, but, it just seems like it's their inside joke now. It's to a certain extent that I wasn't aware that she was, completely sentient. I mean, that's the tragic part, of course, but it's interesting to address them in that way. The second one was we had this exchange with, let me get to it, with Lapis and Steven this episode.
Ready, Freddy? My name's Lapis.
And then in the original ones, we had
Yeah.
Steven saying, "No problem,
prob,
Bob."
Bob.
It's
She's
Lapis.
like, it's Lapis. Like,
Yeah.
so
Sure.
deadpan. It was so funny.
I'm pretty sure this was her being like cutesy, like she gets the joke as
Yeah,
opposed
she
to.
seemed more teasy this time. She's like, it's Lapis. The
Let's
first time she's just like,
okay,
"It's Lapis."
okay. I have the sound quote, so let's play it again. We'll see.
Ready, Freddy? My name's Lapis.
Yeah, it did
Yeah,
seem a
good,
little bit.
Justin.
Yeah,
It does
A
seem
little-
like she's in on the
Cute, it's
joke
adorable.
now.
I
I don't
Not
think
just, like,
Lapis.
being
I don't
literal.
think Lapis really knows jokes, other than that the blowing the raspberry is funny.
She knows he knows her name is Lapis.
But, well, she's still. It's not like she's still. It's not like she suddenly understands idioms. Like,
Let me have this one moment. For
no,
what?
I agree. It was great. Look, come on. I'm with you on this. Obviously,
Thank you.
Lapis. In terms of like giving Lapis credit and stuff. If it was referenced in the part 1 podcast, but I am Lapis, probably my favorite side character. Like, this was a lot of great stuff here. In terms of that, the third similarity I found, this was a stretch, and the fourth one's the mirror eyes, was in the second part of those two parts, like one of the water people like crashes Greg's van, and he's like, and that's why we wear seatbelts. And then Garnet in this episode says all seatbelts are fastened before they leave. So I don't know if that was a
didn't even
callback to
think
that.
That might
I don't
be
know if that was a
cool,
callback to that
but
or
it is
not.
kind of cool that those both happened.
Yeah,
I
mean,
like Greg cracked down on seatbelts
Yeah.
after that, so it's
right.
a
So I think,
secondary
yeah, I think
effect.
that's the conclusion. That's the thing. Yeah. So, do I want to play the quotes I put? I don't know if I can find them. We had this quote from Steven from those original two episodes. Nope. And which is a good soundboard one.
I've never been to this, how do you say, school?
I forgot that
I
this
love
episode.
that whole scene.
I forgot that this episode references Steven just not like going to school.
I can't go to school. How will I learn now?
Why do I never ask follow-up questions?
I think that's a good podcast soundboard one too. So yeah, I was pulling some ones from that episode as we were going. And the last one is these mirror eyes. So Lapis in the original two episodes, when her gem is broken, she kind of has these cloudy eyes, and then only when Steven fixes her gem, she gets her eyes back. And in these episodes, I think it's when she's recounting her origin
suddenly
story
just
When she
becomes mirror
creates a
eyes.
mirror, because she
Yeah,
turned
with
a
the
Galaxy
water.
Warp surface into a mirror.
into a mirror, yeah, to display what's happening, right? So then her eyes go back to that way. So definitely like a big symbolic moment in that regard.
But now there's a question, because clearly
Yeah.
she has the power to create a mirror. There's two options. All Lapis Lazulis are able to project a mirror, and that's why they put her into one, or being in the mirror gave her this ability after she was removed.
I didn't get the impression that I was
Yeah.
watching that ability was super special, but I guess so.
But it's still a thing that none of the other gems we've seen do.
It is
guess
kind of
so.
weird that they put her in a mirror. I mean, they must have known she had a special ability because it's not like a normal thing you do with an enemy gem, right?
Maybe, yeah.
It was a very special form of interrogation.
I'm curious, the way she's dressed, the whole mirror, almost foresight kind of thing, is it possible like her species role is almost like a prophet? This is very much stretching, but it's an interesting idea.
Well, there's been speculation about why she was sent to the battlefield, because she's clearly not like super equipped to handle like an all-out war going on. She gets like poof like within seconds of landing. And one of the things people were thinking was like maybe she's like a reporter kind of, and like they knew she had this ability to recount like history through mirror projections. So they're like, okay, we're gonna send you there so that you can record it for us to like save and like archive for later. And then it just like all went completely wrong. But yeah, there's like so much to this, like we really don't know. Like we got like more info about her than we ever have. At the same time, like it's one of those things Steven Universe always does where it just leaves us with so many more questions, because clearly that's such a small bit of like probably the whole picture of what was going on there with her. And like who found her gem? Like
Pearl.
because
Oh, wait, you got
I
the
mean,
homework.
when they like picked her up and the person who like put her in the mirror, like I feel like that could be really important, but like there's absolutely no clues who that could have been. So like so many questions. I don't know, but I think maybe she was a reporter. Other than that, I have no idea why they'd send someone like Lapis, because she's not like a Jasper, you know. She's
All
not someone
the-
you'd send to battle.
All the gems we've seen so far that at least appear to be under Blue Diamond, because I'm basing this purely off how Sapphire looks and how Lapis looks. They all seem more scouty, reportery as opposed to soldier. That seems to be a common theme, so that does make a lot of sense.
So on the part one of the podcast, I was bringing up my impression that we get a different sense of the gems coming to Earth in this episode from Lapis's story, and that it almost seems like they were forced out rather than they
lost interest or something.
Rather than like they just left, right? And it almost seems to me that the biggest possibility that stands out in my mind is that they were basically just sending a colony to Earth, and Lapis was just one of the original colony members of people sent to Earth. It makes it seem like she was just on vacation. Like she said I was they're supposed to be there for a short time. Like she was just vacationing on Earth and then visiting that new colony, and then they got forced out by the rebellion. That'd be my number one theory, I would say. Although it's definitely not clear from there's definitely a broad recounting by Lapis. Yeah, I think that was interesting. Something people noted from this whole flashback sequence was that on the battlefield were like 10 Jaspers.
Yeah.
When
a lot of Jaspers.
I saw a purple arm. Was that an amethyst?
That was the purple arm was the one that picked up her gem.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means yes, that's the thing.
And perhaps most interestingly to most of the fandom was the gem who cracked Lapis's gem originally, this crazy rainbow-haired gem, who most people are calling Bismuth.
No,
there's
way.
a lot of, I think there's enough weight for that than anything else.
Okay, so in the Steven Universe fandom, Bismuth is like the thing that it's like the thing people keep calling everything. Like,
okay, the lion theory, that's a legitimate piece of bismuth. Like you can look at that. That is what bismuth looks like.
People think it's bismuth with regards to lion. People think lion is bismuth. People think
lion can't be bismuth if the bismuth is inside lion, though. It doesn't make sense.
And people think the gem that's inside lion. All of these are unsubstantiated.
Okay, that is literally what the element looks like.
Yeah, it is kind of rainbowy colored and swirly. That's why I think it has a lot more weight than.
Yeah, but we'll come back to this gem. I think that this was notable and should be discussed. I think that gem was like distinct enough in appearance, the one that cracked Lapis's gem, that seems like that's something they're doing. But at the same time, I mean, like, this fandom sometimes is a propensity to call things definitive when they're not, and bismuth has not been said on the show. Like, let's not pretend that this is a thing.
It is a thing.
It's not a, like, there's Thing in Lion's gem.
Well, the Thing in Lion's gem definitely is bismuth. That's pretty undeniable. It's a very particular shape, unlike pretty much any other.
A pyramid.
Yeah. It's like swirly and rainbow.
Until it comes back, where it's not like a thing yet. We'll see. We'll see what happens with it. So yeah, I think that whole sequence really good. Where do we want to go to now? I think let me play the other quotes I have from the episode that I pulled to transition into some discussion on the other parts, which are pretty great. Let's do this one.
I feel like I only get to see you when something horrible's going on.
That's just how it is with me.
That's just how it is with me. Aw.
That's really sad.
Yeah.
It's like a Taylor Swift song.
Is it?
Okay. Is it?
I don't know.
No, it's like, darling, I'm a nightmare dressed like a daydream. Something like that.
Yeah, that's a great. You should. Okay, that's an article you can write. Is
oh god, yes. Please.
Taylor Swift, Steven Universe quote art. Yeah, comparison. That'll get us all the hits on the blog. Okay, here's another
That's
one.
That's why they say what happens in Empire City never sleeps.
Yeah, it just this whole sequence with them going over the city and it's just so incredible.
That is
everything about that.
And
why is the Eiffel Tower in New York?
We'll talk about that. In our last segment, we could put about the geography.
There was no Statue of Liberty. What if France gave us that instead?
No, we have
There is no France.
There is a better. The answer is that it's Las Vegas, I think. So let's continue.
Whoops! I dropped it and it fell out of existence.
Steven talking about his fake steak for lion.
I saw
the lion is beautiful.
Yeah, I saw so many memes about that line in relation to Jasper, just like unceremoniously like leaving the episode as soon as she was poofed. I'm still not over that. It was so sad.
Is Lion rescuing Jasper? Is that what's happening?
Is Lion gonna fuse with
maybe.
Jasper and Bismuth?
I don't think that would happen.
Stop.
You'd like it in Jersey. The people here seem to hate the Earth too.
Yeah, that was quite the burn.
a lot of pushback on Twitter from people from New Jersey.
Okay, New Jersey people can be quiet. Russian people don't have a country.
Yeah, that's true. There's no Russia in Steven Universe. Again, we'll discuss this. Matt Burnett said he wrote the joke he's from New Jersey, and that was his own self-inflicted joke. And here's the last one.
Well, let's see. If you lived here, you could get a cool apartment and be a single gem taking on the big city. You'd have a fun job at a local coffee shop and come home to a wacky roommate.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Aw.
Two broke gems this fall on CBS.
Two broke gems, yeah. I love Steven's "aw" at the end of that, and just that whole segment.
That felt like me. Like that's something I would say.
"Aw," yeah. You are kind of Steven because you're both very young and naive.
I am 18.
Oh, Justin,
Dylan.
You're proving my point here. This is. That's pretty good. This whole minute, like in over Empire City, was so good. I love Steven's fanfic about Lapis Lazuli. Like, I really want to read this now.
Well, Lapis is going to be getting that wacky roommate since her and
Paradox have had fanfiction in cartoons on Cartoon Network before. Maybe Steven will write us some Lapis fanfiction.
Yeah, that's true. Adventure Time. We've had fanfic writing on.
Can we get a gender bent Steven Universe fanfic from Steven?
That'd be cool.
That reminded me, I think we are getting a new Powerpuff Girls Teen Titans Go crossover.
Yeah,
what?
That's happening.
I don't know how I feel about that.
More importantly,
nobody knows how to feel about that.
New Fiona and Cake on Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. That's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, so I hope we avoid throwing Steven Universe into that type of stuff, but, yeah, that Lapis could die. Yeah. So, I don't know, just in general, I feel like the tone of this episode that they struck with, Lapis is really great, and everything surrounding, like her feelings with regards to the Earth and the crystal gems, and, especially Steven and their interactions just was really, kind of, great, well done and elegantly done, and just one of the standout things to me over the last few episodes. Let's take a question from Toon Gal. I'm gonna friend of the podcast, Toon Gal. I'm going to kind of cut it off at an awkward point, but was
Toon Gal.
I shorten these a lot, and I'm trying to get the heart of it. So I was trying to say that Lapis seemed to be more neutral than Peridot, and that she didn't seem to be as invested in conflict. To me, it seemed like she just wanted to stay out of everything and live her own life. Peridot, in contrast, was actively working for Yellow Diamond and a lot more visibly indoctrinated. Little is known about Lapis's standpoint other than that she hated the crystal gems. Is it possible that we'll see more of her views in the next episode in her confrontation with Peridot? I had assumed that she just obeyed to avoid punishment, but could this be inaccurate? So, I think that there's a lot of interesting stuff here about, what Lapis's perspective was, and I think I gained a lot of knowledge by just going back and watching those first two episodes that she was in. Cause I'd really just forgotten all of that. And she does have a lot of antagonism towards the crystal gems. And I think that the biggest criticism of this episode could be that, we ended with at a point that Lapis is okay with staying with Steven and the crystal gems, despite the fact that, I'm not convinced that she would have gotten over this initial deep-seated hatred of the gems. Like, I definitely think that this episode did a great job continuing to play out the Lapis and Steven dynamic, and that's the most important thing. But if you go back and rewatch the first episode, she really doesn't like the crystal gems, and I don't see any reason that she would have changed that view here.
Well, here's the thing. If you could say basically she was saved by the gems. The thing is, she was mad at the gems because they left her in the mirror. They didn't try to save her. That was her biggest plight. Here, in the last episode we saw, the gems actively saved her from Jasper. And so I think her issue with them is now resolved because they have saved her. They now do care. They actively rescued her.
So I think that's kind of that's an interesting point in how, like, this is a nice turnaround from the reason she was mad at them at the first place. I definitely don't think that's like how life works, in that she's mad at them for initially not like saving her, and then they did save her in a separate occasion, so all is forgiven. I think that her emotions would not instantly go away from that act.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting read, though, in terms of that might be significant on her mind because of that. But an episode also doesn't really get into that. That's the thing. It's all super, super in the background. of like us trying to figure out why she might be somewhat over them. And of course, logically, like, we know that they probably didn't really do anything wrong. Like, they didn't know that she was sentient, in season 1, and they fought back because she was they like assumed she was attacking when they assumed she was. I do think their behavior in Mirror Gem and whatever and Ocean Gem is not like completely without blame. Like, they assume that she's kind of this homeworld malintended gem without much reason. I think.
I agree.
So I think her being mad at them, very understandable. But I understand why Lapis would want to stay with Steven. Like, that makes all the sense in the world after everything they've been through with, and it's only been like 3 episodes that we've seen of their dynamic, and it's already like one of the best dynamics on the show, I think. But I just think the willingness to stay with the other 3 crystal gems, super, super sketch.
Well, I think when she agreed to stay, she thought the barn was completely empty, right?
Yeah,
everyone else
she
had
thought
already
that was gonna be
left.
her
She wanted to
space.
stay in the empty barn.
Right.
She's
yeah.
gonna like
I think
stay at the temple with the actual crystal
Yeah.
gems.
I think that's a more reasonable interpretation. She can tolerate them, but she just wants to stay separate, right? Somewhere close to Steven, but not with the crystal gems. Yeah. I think that's probably the way to look at it. And I think her reaction to Peridot is interesting. So
Yeah, I mean, like, cause like her hitting the crystal gems makes sense given like she, I mean, I guess it depends on how she got in a position to be brought back as a kind of informant on the crystal gems, or at least on Steven. Like, if Peridot like captured her and like that's the reason she came back, I can see her being so upset about Peridot. But they haven't really spent a lot of time together, so that was like really interesting that she reacted so strongly.
I don't think Peridot captured her as much as Lapis was assigned to Peridot.
yeah, but like Peridot's one of the 2 keeping her, like bringing her back to Earth in jail. It's not good.
Yeah, but I think it was
Yeah.
more Jasper doing the heavy lifting in that, because Jasper's
One would
role was the
assume, yeah.
bodyguard.
And Peridot seems to have no ill
Yeah, she's
will
like,
towards
no,
Lapis,
she's
so-
completely
Wow,
just
so
like, oh, you're
wow.
doing well. And she's like, what the snick's going on?
Snicks.
Yeah.
Okay, who's going to represent the Lapidot perspective from this scene? I'm certainly not
I
going
can do it. I'll ship anything.
Yeah,
do
you-
it, Justin.
We've seen evidence of that. Okay, yes.
Okay. Considering I've shipped the Larpus, I can handle this. Alright, it's definitely... I've never really liked the idea of Lapidot, but this scene could kind of start to sell me, because we have this initial angst. They're probably going to get over it in the next episode.
Initial angst.
They're going to start we can assume that when they resolve everything, they're going to both stay in the barn. They'll have all this time to get to know each other, wear pants, do all this fun stuff Peridot likes doing, watch Camp Pining Hearts. I could see if they ever want to show a current relationship. We don't see the barn for like 5 or 6 episodes. Steven comes back and voila, they're dating. What? Yep. That's how it's going to happen. I guarantee it. That's a rock fact.
Yeah, okay, sure. I'm gonna. You can choose to believe that or not, but yeah, sure. Gem's dating is kind of actually an interesting.
Yeah, I don't.
interesting
That's a
concept.
big question.
That's
if
not
they
like
actually
something that
do
exists,
that.
right? We don't know if that's a thing that happens. We've never heard
Okay,
even
we'll come back and
Garnet
they'll
refer.
fuse.
Right? Yeah, that's. I mean, people would freak out over that.
How
so much.
cool would
But yeah,
that be?
that would be
I would
that would be the
personally freak
He
out.
equivalent.
like walks into the barn and he hears noises and he's like looking around trying to figure out where they are, and then he walks in and sees the fusion. What?
I will say, anytime we're fusing Peridot is going to be time spent away from Peridot, so I think that's not a good idea.
I like Peridot fusing.
Well, I think it's. I mean, I very much want Peridot to fuse with Garnet, but at the same time, like Peridot's so valuable towards the cast as herself right now.
Well, she'd
So,
only
yeah,
stay
we'll
fused
see.
for like 2 minutes, and we'll
Yeah,
probably
well,
get
that's
a great
fine.
singer as the fusion voice actress.
Yeah, we can get Taylor Swift to voice the
Hashtag
the Lapidot
Taylor Swift
fusion.
is
Yeah, when I
Lapidot.
think of Peridot and Lapis' voice fuse, Taylor Swift is the first one who comes to mind.
Oh, okay,
thinking
yeah, I'm glad
Kylie
that we're on the
Minogue.
same page on that one. I'd expect this Taylor Swift
I would
comparison
love
article
Kylie
to be
Minogue as
written.
that. Ooh, that's a good idea.
Okay, I'm glad you cast the season, Justin.
You're welcome.
You should write them. But yeah, we'll see more of this next week with Barnmates. So a lot to talk about then. Let's go to Steve's question. He says, what do you think of the Reformed Homeworld Gem characters like Lapis and Peridot taking part in Beach City Slice of Life episodes? You mentioned in the Onion Friend podcast how in season 1, the episodes in Beach City were about Steven's interactions with them, but in season 2, the Crystal Gems were more involved in these episodes. Do you think season 3 it is the Homeworld Gems' turn? So what do we think of Lapis and Peridot interacting with like Onion and all of our other Beach City people? What would Mayor Dewey think of Peridot?
He'd call her a child so many times.
Yeah,
she
probably.
would get mad, and he'd be like, "Where are your parents, little child?" And she'd be like, "I'm not a child."
Yeah, probably. What do we think of this concept of Peridot and Lapis and maybe Jasper accompanying Steven on these Slice of Life episodes?
Lapis would join the angsty teens.
That's true. I think Lapis would maybe fit in with the teens, yeah.
Let him be
That
a
seems
DJ.
right. I think Lapis, I don't know, like, I wonder, on Homeworld, does Lapis have, like, friends? Is this a thing do, like, friends exist on Homeworld? I don't think so.
We would get Larpus.
Yeah, Lapis interacting with Lars, that'd be, we could see it. Anyway, last question before we get to our last topic. Toongal says, second question for Toongal, a rip to all my Lapis theories, you're not the deserter gem who refused to fight for either side that I wanted you to be, sad face. I do think this episode killed a lot of Lapis theories. So you're just gonna have to deal with this very straightforward Lapis presentation. Tourist Lapis instead of deserter Lapis. That's what we get, kind of. Okay, here's our final topic. This is very important. We need to go over the geography of the Steven Universe world. So I'm going to read a series of tweets by Ian JQ, who I'm saying like that so I don't mispronounce his last name. So first we have, it's not New Jersey, it's Jersey, a made-up version that exists only in the SU world. SU world does not equal our world. So we said, alternate Earth confirmed, which has been confirmed for a while. Mm-hmm. He says, other examples, Steven lives in Delmarva, which is combined Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia Peninsula. Okay. So let's talk about that one. Okay, let's pause and talk about this one. So, okay. So the background, this is potentially very boring for some people. We started to get into this on the other podcast. Yeah, me and Justin are gonna understand the geography here more than Michelle, but
Virginia.
Maryland, Virginia area. So Beach City itself is based off of Rehoboth and Dewey Beach, Delaware. And Rebecca Sugar and her brother are from Maryland, the city I live in and I'm from, actually. And they vacationed in Rehoboth and Dewey Beach, also like me, so I'm literally Rebecca Sugar. But so it's based off of these areas. I've never heard as Delmarva presented as Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia Peninsula. I think that's interesting. I don't know why Virginia is necessarily thrown in here, but
because of the whole Chincoteague era. That little slice that hangs off down below.
Yeah, it could just be that part, right? I think that might be what he's getting at. From the initial map, I always thought of it was somewhat further south, but if the map's different, then everything's thrown out the window. He says Keystone, another non-existent place, is near Delmarva, though its shape looks somewhat familiar, and it's a picture of Pennsylvania, basically. So, separating Pennsylvania out here. Mm-hmm. But there's another part of this to get into, but yeah, that's new information, combining it Delaware, Maryland, Virginia. I didn't know the states were not just, I don't know if we'd ever knew that the states were just not there. We knew Keystone was a place. I don't necessarily know if it was a state.
They called it. Yeah. Because Pearl said, "You mean the Keystone State?" And he said, "Yeah, the state, Keystone."
Yeah. I guess this is a clear interpretation now. So we're getting a better picture of the SU United States, which is, this is...
So can we assume that the state Empire City is in is called Empire?
So so he tweeted, Empire City is a fusion of New York, Paris, and Las Vegas.
Oh, what?
The SU World's Hollywood is Kansas City.
All right.
So I don't know why he needed to say that.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
That's why Jamie went to Kansas to be an actor.
Oh yeah, okay.
I thought that was just a throwaway gag.
I thought that was just a throwaway gag.
No, it sounded like a real place.
I think Empire. So I think New York and Las Vegas makes sense from the saying that Steven says. There's an Eiffel Tower there, which I guess is why he said Paris, but there's also a mini Eiffel Tower in Las Vegas. So I think you could explain it from that. Also, there's
Paris is the city of lights.
Well,
There's a Japanese word on the thing, so I thought it was also Tokyo. Like, I think that you could, but then again, that could just be a thing, like, that's in one of these cities. So, this is just like I think Empire City is just supposed to be their big city.
I love
like,
this.
That's what it's supposed to be presented as. I mean, I don't know. It's supposed to, like, it's called Empire City and it has Jersey next to it. Like, it's mostly New York.
yeah.
But I guess they're just combining all their big. I mean, I've always had the impression that the SU world has the lower population, so having like less huge cities, kind of makes sense to me. Although there are a lot of cars on the road in their Jersey, painting, right?
True.
Like that seems
Maybe
more
it's the
populated than I
city
thought.
outside of Kansas.
So,
Yeah,
do they
maybe.
have anything further west of Kansas?
I don't know if
We
we have
don't
evidence for
know.
anything.
We don't
Maybe
know
they
yet.
stopped going.
The
That's
Earth.
why Las Vegas
Yeah, and
is in Nevada.
No, in their world, the original,
never went past the
whatever,
Rockies.
the explorers never went past, yeah.
This looks good enough.
This is so
Yeah.
cool.
And his last tweet was, that's not even getting into the continents, many of which are different than ours in the picture that we've referenced of, Russia not there
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything like that, right?
Interesting.
So, definitely a big clarification on this world, SU world geography, which is a big, I love this episode for expanding our view of their world, even if it wasn't giving definitive,
It's literal
Yeah, it was like a
world building.
sneak peek,
Portraits.
which was
Yeah.
nice.
So, when's our first episode in Empire City going to take place?
Last
Never.
one out of Beach City.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
where are they
moved
gonna
to
go?
Empire City.
So if Last One Out of Beach City is actually the title of the last episode, is like a provisional title, where are they going to go to one of the other 4 Beach City names? Like I
Bayberg.
forgot what the Bayberg, yeah, stuff like that.
Well, they're not going to Ocean Town. We know what happened to that.
Yeah, no one seems to think well of Ocean Town.
Wink, wink,
Lots
nudge,
of-
nudge.
So yeah, so I think that's interesting. Where are they going to go if they go out of there? Probably to one of those towns, but you know.
No, go to
Um,
Empire City and start using the Seinfeld theme music.
Oh god, no.
I really want the Lapis sitcom. Like, come on, that needs to happen.
She'd be so deadpan. It'd be so great.
It would be really good, and she just wouldn't understand why things are jokes. But you know, okay. What any other thoughts on the SU world from this that have been brought up? Any other dire questions if this place exists?
Steven Universe Atlas. Make it happen, Rebecca Sugar. Make it happen.
Well, they got Monopoly.
Yeah.
Might be only.
They
matter
have a
of time.
Monopoly?
Yeah, it's coming out sometime. And a Yahtzee, maybe, I think. The one with the Garnet Gauntlet, and they're like dices. I don't know what that game is, but it looked
That's
cool.
Yahtzee.
We need an Avatar style Steven Universe world map. I think that's what
yeah.
we need.
Topographical.
That would force them to commit to, like, a legit
Yeah,
outcome, and they keep saying things are
Yeah.
a little different every time.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be a good idea. I think they should just keep it broad like this. It's fine. So there you go. What else can you guys think of from this episode in general? I think that's all I have. to say.
Zappos.
It was really, it was just really nice. I mean, I think once, you know, they started flying, it just like, it was just so nice, you know. It was
That
so,
whole
like,
sequence when they're flying
comforting.
is incredible. Yeah.
You got so much about Lapis, just like how she was reacting to everything, and like when she was being really playful with Steven, and just like,
Yeah, I guess. Oh, and
it.
I didn't even
Just,
I
like,
say this in the
flipping
first
through
podcast.
the air.
but- yeah. Like this episode we got Happy Lapis.
Yes!
Like one episode after we get her back. Like, what kind of world do we live in where this type of thing can happen? Like, we got Happy Lapis one episode after she comes back. This is like not the real.
I feel like that.
This is,
I'm happy they went that way, honestly, because if it became like this whole episode about like we have to like relive all the horrible things that happened to her in the fusion, and just like I'm so glad they went like with the more positive note for her, because I think that's
They needed
Just-
something lighthearted.
more. It does
Yeah.
a better service to her as a character than just like perpetuating how everyone already feels about her being super victimized and how sad that is, you know? Because she's obviously so much more than that, and I'm glad that they showed it with
Yeah.
this past episode.
Yeah, I think it was great. I mean, between last week's Game of Thrones and this week's Steven Universe, life is like way more optimistic than I could ever thought possible. Like, we got Happy Lapis in a week where we got a super optimistic Game of Thrones episode. That never happened. So I don't know what this new world is, but I'm sure someone will die off soon, be killed off in this show now to compensate, like, which never happens. Like, are we gonna lose a gem or something? I think something dark's on our board.
Something
now.
terrible already happened to me in TV this week, but you liked it, so I don't want to hear it.
I don't.
Yes.
You mean my fave winning on?
I don't
on
want to
Survivor,
talk
so.
about that terrible vote.
Let's not get into that. But the person who won is an Avatar fan, so I think that we are all happy here. Some people have interpreted this quote. Let me get it back here. Is this
I feel
one.
like I only get to see you when something horrible's going on.
That's just how it is with me.
I saw the AV Club review. Eric Thurm was saying that is foreshadowing something horrible is to come.
Is Lapis genuinely like a bad luck charm? Like,
yeah. Do you think that was foreshadowing? I think it was more of a joke.
I don't know. I think
is she the Absol of Steven Universe?
At the same time, we're probably going to see, we're due for some sort of homeworld,
something,
interactions, right? So, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be horrible though. Like, I don't think Yellow Diamond's coming down next episode, so we'll see. It's going to be interesting, and many people will be seeing the result of the next 3 episodes this weekend. Again, we will not be addressing it on the podcast, so you're safe from spoilers here. Thank you guys for your feedback. Again, next week, if you want to give us feedback, you can go to overlyanimated.com/feedback and send in your voicemail. It's very easy. You just call a phone number. And,
please send us voicemails.
We only had 2 this week. We're gonna need some more here. I'm sure we're gonna have all the Lapadot feedback next week. Yeah, gonna be exciting. So, I'm Dylan Eisen, Justin Cummings, Michelle Ander, overlyanimated.com, everything, our social media accounts, bios, everything on there. Look for coming up is me and Delaney's weekly Miraculous Ladybug podcast, followed by more Steven Universe coverage next week and new Powerpuff Girls coverage next week. This ad-free podcast is brought to you by our patrons, many of whom are sending in voicemails, and they're awesome. Thank you very much to overlyanimated.com or /Patreon. I don't know if that works. Patreon.com /overlyanimated works. I know that one. I don't know if I set up that redirection link yet. Thank you very much to, I'm trying to stall until I can find the list, as usual. Shayna, Mitch Cordell, Beatrice, Nate, Andy, Jamie, Rachel, John Ryan, and Catherine, aka Hannah, Fever, Metro, Energy, Beach, 18th, and Philly, Buzz Lightyear, Mailman, Rich Rose, Daniel Bauer, Brian, and Quick Cat. Last thoughts, Michelle and Justin.
Oh no, I just thought about something.
What?
Oh no, okay, well maybe I'll just save it.
Yeah, a whole new world.
Oh my god,
a lot of people at the
Tumblr's an interesting place is what you should take out of that.
Yeah, let us know what you thought of anything we said here. Show us your Steven Universe fan-made map. We'll be very interested to see any. I don't know if any of those exist, but
hit that hashtag.
I'd love to see that. Nope.
Counter hashtag Happy Lappy.
Happy Lappy, yeah. I don't think that's something we said this episode, but that's fine. I like it much better. And
why do you hate my ships?
Not your ships.
Not that.
I do.
I am the captain of the ship now.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.